It was a sermon nobody wanted to hear. Pastor Michael Reynolds stood behind a wooden pulpit in a mid-sized church just outside Nashville, Tennessee. Attendance had been declining for years. The messages people preferred were simple: live better, feel stronger, succeed more. But this Sunday was different. He didn't open with a joke. He didn't ease into it. He simply said, "Don't miss the rapture." A few people shifted in their seats. Some glanced at their phones. He opened his Bible to 1 Thessalonians 4 and read slowly, deliberately. "For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, and the dead in Christ shall rise first." He paused. "Church," he said quietly, "Jesus is coming. And not everyone who says they believe will be ready." After service, reactions were mixed. "That was intense," one couple whispered. "Sounds extreme," another man muttered. But in the third row sat a woman named Laura Mitchell, gripping her purse tightly. She had grown up in church. She knew the verses. But she also knew her faith had become routine, comfortable, cultural, casual. That night, Laura couldn't sleep. The words echoed, "Don't miss the rapture." Across town, life went on. Teenagers laughed at a late-night diner. A businessman finalized a deal overseas. News anchors debated politics. Traffic lights blinked red and green like any other evening. Nothing in the sky looked unusual. No warning signs. No countdown clock. 3 days later, at 2:17 p.m. on a Wednesday, the world changed. Laura was driving home from work when it happened. The sound was not like thunder. It was not like music. It was something ancient and powerful, a trumpet blast that seemed to pierce the atmosphere itself. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. Cars around her began swerving violently. A semi-truck ahead jackknifed across lanes. Screams filled the air. And then, in a flash, the driver of the truck vanished. The vehicle barreled uncontrolled into the median. Laura slammed her brakes. All around her, chaos erupted. Some drivers were gone. Just gone. Clothes left behind in seats. Phones dropping to pavement. Panic exploded across the highway. Laura's heart pounded violently. "No," she whispered. She looked around. People were screaming, crying, calling loved ones. Sirens began wailing within minutes. Emergency broadcasts interrupted every radio station. Reports flooded in globally. Millions missing. Simultaneously. Across continents. Airplanes falling from the sky. Surgeons disappearing mid-surgery. Children gone from classrooms. Entire church groups missing, but not all. Laura's hands trembled. She grabbed her phone and dialed her sister. No answer. She tried her mother. Straight to voicemail. Then she remembered. Her mother had been praying for years. "Lord, let me be ready." Laura felt her knees weaken. She pulled over and stepped out of the car as smoke rose from wreckage nearby. Above her, the sky was calm. Blue. Peaceful. But something irreversible had just happened. The rapture. And she was still here. By nightfall, the United States had declared a national emergency. The president addressed the nation with visible strain. "We are facing an unprecedented global crisis," he said carefully. "We urge citizens to remain calm." But calm was impossible. Social media erupted with one word trending worldwide. #Rapture. Old sermon clips resurfaced instantly. Pastors who had warned about the coming of Christ were now gone. Their final messages replayed millions of times. One viral clip showed Pastor Reynolds saying, "Jesus is not returning for a lukewarm church." Laura sobbed when she saw it. Because she had heard those words in person. And she had done nothing. Within days, a charismatic global leader emerged, offering clarity in the confusion. He dismissed religious explanations gently but firmly. This was not divine judgment, he assured. It was a cosmic event we are still studying. People clung to his calm voice. They needed something to hold on to. But Laura felt something different inside her. Conviction. She found her mother's old Bible and opened it with shaking hands. Verses she once skimmed now felt alive. Matthew 24. Revelation 3. Luke 21. She read about tribulation, about deception, about endurance. Tears blurred the pages. I missed it, she whispered. But then she read something else. Revelation 7 spoke of those who would come out of the Great Tribulation. There was still a choice. It would cost everything. But it was not too late. Weeks passed. Economic systems collapsed under sudden workforce loss. Riots broke out in major cities. Food shortages began. Fear turned to anger. And slowly, quietly, a global digital identification system was introduced to restore order. Participation granted access to banking, employment, travel. Refusal meant exclusion. Laura knew exactly what it represented. She remembered Pastor Reynolds explaining Revelation 13. She remembered half listening. Now every word felt carved in stone. Her friends told her she was overreacting. It's just technology, they insisted. It's survival. But Laura had seen the trumpet fulfilled. She had watched believers vanish. She would not ignore the next warning. One evening, as protests flared downtown, she gathered with a small group of others who had been left behind but now believed. They met quietly in basements. They prayed with urgency. Faith was no longer casual. It was costly. Arrests of religious extremists began months later. Public allegiance ceremonies were introduced. Refusal meant imprisonment. Laura stood in line at a processing center one cold morning. Officials instructed each person to receive the digital mark and verbally affirm loyalty to the global authority. When her turn came, her heart pounded louder than the trumpet she still remembered. State your allegiance, the officer said flatly. Laura swallowed. She thought of her mother, of Pastor Reynolds, of that Wednesday afternoon on the highway. I belong to Jesus Christ, she said. The room went silent. The officer's expression hardened. Remove her. She was escorted away in restraints. Fear surged through her body, but beneath it was something stronger. Peace. Because she had missed the rapture. But she would not miss eternity. Days later, confined with others who had refused compliance, rumors spread of escalating global disasters, earthquakes, darkness, blood-red waters. Judgments unfolding. And then one night, the earth shook violently. Not like before. Stronger. Final. Guards shouted in confusion. Lights flickered. Concrete cracked. And above the chaos, a sound echoed again. Not distant this time. Near. Powerful. Authoritative. The sky split open. This was not the rapture. This was the return. Every eye saw him. Christ. Not as suffering servant, but as king. The systems of control collapsed instantly. The leader who promised unity stood powerless before true authority. Laura fell to her knees in the fractured prison yard as glory filled the sky. Tears streamed down her face. She had missed the trumpet of rescue, but she had not missed the call to allegiance. And now, as the king returned to judge and reign, she understood something eternal. Missing the rapture was tragic. Missing Christ forever would have been worse. The flames consuming the skyline were not random destruction. They were the end of rebellion, the beginning of justice. And as heaven opened fully, Laura whispered through tears, Jesus is Lord. This time, the whole world knew it.